Obviously, today, a reaction. Chris Denker, who's a major coach that's been a part of the international game now for a long time, pro basketball scout. Chris Denker on Team USA Reaction and more, talking some hoops. All right, Wednesday's show looks great. Excited to have Mark Lineweaver on, Major League Baseball agent. We'll get to him coming up. A lot to start off with here. 720-1067 is our number. If you don't know it, you got us there. Studio line, 720-1067. If you want to join the conversation, we're good to go. And the Barron's Wilson text line open and ready. Direct text the show, 720-1067. Same number. If you can't call, text us on the Barron's Wilson text line. Oh, by the way, what do we got to do today? 5 questions from Chris. Our loyal listener, Chris, sends them in. Some Olympic-themed questions. Did I see that, Chris? I don't fabricate my answers, Chris. So I kind of see your theme. I kind of run through what's the general thought here, and I don't script the answers. 5 questions from Chris on the way. Okay, I want to start the show with a couple of things. One thing about the Olympics you probably don't know, at least I didn't until yesterday, and I want to get into that with a question of the day. But I want to go to this major change coming to college sports. I think it's something that's really underreported because there's so many legal things with it. People get their eyes glazed over with it. You start talking about this settlement and that settlement and how's this all going to work. What people want to know, how's this going to impact college athletes? And people may not know this is going to impact former college athletes. And I started hitting on this a little bit yesterday, but I think it's worth taking a pretty deep dive into it when it comes to this NCAA settlement that really is going to transform the financial side of college sports. And it's really underreported because, you know why? People here in this part of the country where we're South Dakota State USD folks, though we're in that realm, we're the ones that are going to have to be wondering, I wonder why the budgets aren't as big anymore at South Dakota State and USD and North Dakota State. Where's the money gone? It's a constant battle for our universities anyway. Okay, it's a constant battle anyway. And now we're going to have to look at how did this happen? And what I'm talking about, not a lot of people know it, that you get this big settlement case that's going through the courts, and they're starting to put the framework together. Nothing's totally set yet, but I'm going to discuss it on the show today because the framework's starting to get put in place, and the smaller conferences, the Big Sky Conference, the Missouri Valley, the Summit League, these teams that we know all about and are connected to, they're going to have to be a part of this settlement, and I have a feeling they don't have anything to do with it. Now, maybe the NCAA can make the argument. We'll get to that. But let me just ask a question of the day and see where the audience is at today. Here's where the latest NCAA settlement is. This is the House versus NCAA. This framework is still in the works, but they're trying to put it together how much money athletes are going to get paid currently, how much they're going to give to the athletic departments every year. They're saying $20 to $22 million. This is just like a legal settlement, from, maybe you've been part of a class action deal. I don't know. That's what this is. So the power conferences are going to get $20 to $22 million per school every year. The schools are going to have to decide, well, how can we divvy this up? I had a listener ask me, where's this money coming from? And that's what I mean by the South Dakota States, the USDs, the North Dakota States. They're a part of this. They're not going to benefit from it. Their athletes are not power conference athletes. So none of our athletes are going to benefit from the settlement, but our universities aren't going to get as much money into their athletic budgets because they're going to take it from the smaller conferences, not just USD, SDSU, also the Mountain West over here with Wyoming, for example. So they're going to pull the money out of the conferences because they said, we've been giving you money, the NCAA. We've been giving you money because of the men's basketball tournament. You guys get revenue distributions every year. We're just going to pull some of that away because we got hit with this massive lawsuit and we got to pay these former players somehow. And we got to pay these power conference athletes who make all the branding and the revenue and drive up our numbers for March Madness. We got to pay those guys. So this is how this whole case is coming together. And so I'm bringing it to our question of the day today, saying, do you agree that you should pay a former football or men's basketball player that didn't get NIL, they didn't get it, do you agree that they should get paid an average of $135,000? Now, I think quite a few of you, maybe, we'll see. You can tell me if I'm off. I think quite a few of you are going to say, hold on a second, what's going on? I'm trying to do the Cliff Notes version of the massive settlement that's coming. Money that's going to be put into current athletic departments, power conferences, pulled away from the smaller ones, and also money that's going to go to former players. Again, power conference players that didn't get the benefits of NIL. You see, they're eligible for past damages. See, that's how this case is going. They're going to go back to 2016. So 2016, business of college sports, a lot different than 2024. So if you were a player I pull out Nebraska, you're a player at Nebraska, you could be eligible for $135,000. Here's the payment. It's an average. Here's your lump sum because you didn't get NIL. Some people would say, well, if I'm a star, if I've been a star in the power conference level, I deserve more than $135K. But the fact of the matter is, it looks like an average is going to go out to even not the stars. And my issue is not that guys and gals are getting paid. That's not my total issue. I don't know if it makes great sense. I don't know if we're solving the world's problem. We say, well, these guys kind of got hosed, so here's some money. I don't know if that makes sense, honestly. But where it really doesn't make sense is pulling the revenue distributions away from the South Dakota states, the Wyomings, who rely on the budgets more than ever. They rely on that money from the NCAA more than the power conferences who are making money hand over fist, big media rights deals, the whole thing. And now we got to try and pull some revenue from the NCAA distributions from the smaller conferences to help fund the past damages pay. Again, I leave it to the NCAA to make this hard, and that's what they've decided to do. That's the framework, and this was talked about in meetings, which, by the way, South Dakota Attorney General and Montana's Attorney General, both of those attorney generals are looking into how they can stop this, how they can stop the South Dakota schools, the Montana schools, from having to lose money distribution to go to this settlement case. So let me ask that question of the day, okay? If you're looking at it, what do you think is fair? Is it fair for past damages from no NIL? It was a big business anyway. The players didn't get paid. They got scholarships. Those people got hosed. It's time to take care of this. And this is where the lawsuits come in, and this is where what I mean by unintended damages, unintended consequences. People were trying to say, hey, we should get paid too. We're missing out on this opportunity. Look at all the dollars that the college has made over the years. I understand. And then they randomly pull out the year 2016. So if you played 2016 up until now, you're part of this case. If you didn't, sorry. I mean, college sports was a pretty big business in 2014 as well, but sorry. This is the type of stuff I don't get. I just don't get it. Let's see. I don't know if the lawsuits, by the way, are or looking into it by the attorney generals, South Dakota and Montana. They're looking into it. Here's the statement from Montana Attorney General. This settlement is unfair to Montana universities. We are looking into what legal actions we can take. Well, that's fine. I think that's right. I think that's right. It is unfair. And again, this whole lawsuit and the settlement came about. Why? They thought it was unfair that the athletes thought it was unfair that they didn't get paid with NIL like the current athletes. So it's a never-ending fight, a never-ending battle, meaning now we're going to take money from these guys and give it to these guys. And now we're going to hope that works and makes everybody happy. I don't think it will, but if you're a football or men's basketball player from 2016 on up, you're going to get $135,000. How about women's basketball players? They're going to get $35,000. So this is all the framework that's being put together right now. D1 Power Conference athletes could get, quite a bit of money. $135,000 payment. If you're a player from back in the day, that's interesting. Thanks for calling. You're live today, and you go ahead.
No. They don't deserve nothing. Hey, I want jump pay. You know, Nate, my first jump in the late 60s, I think I made $25 extra a month. And then in the 70s, they moved it up to 35. Halo, high altitude jumps, those were double. So I want back pay.
Yeah, I mean, you probably didn't get paid as good as they get paid now either, right?
Yeah, they told me it was an adventure, Nate.
An adventure, yes. I'm sure it was.
No, they don't deserve nothing. My God, I can remember seeing Bob Devaney. I know I've said it 100 times. I've seen Bob Devaney handed money. And then I go see Eddie Lena. He's turning on the water sprinkler, making $20 in 1970.
Yes.
I mean, come on, Nate.
Yes, yes. I know where you're at.
Crazy world. But the South Dakota states, they might as well leave, start their own. The South Dakota School of Mines.
Oh.
Because they don't care about them. They never have.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know where these schools are going to end up. SDSU, USD, Montana State. I don't know where they're going to end up, but you might be onto something.
I mean, honestly, give them 40 teams and then take the universities out of the public education.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get them back.
Yeah. I know what you're up to.
Come on, we can live without college football.
All right. Not me, but all right.
Well, come on, Nate. It's the NFL now.
It's
not college football.
Yeah, we're close. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yep,
Thanks for getting in. We're off and running on a Wednesday. That's all. I just want to know, upcoming NCAA settlement could end up paying Power Conference football and men's basketball players from 2016 up until today. So this is back damages, okay? Any Division I athlete who played a sport from 2016 to present is eligible for past damages, which will be determined by a formula. Yes, so I'm getting all technical here. This is going to be determined by a formula. Were you a Power Conference football player? Well, you guys are going to get this much. Were you a Power Conference men's basketball player? You're going to get this much. They're saying it could be an average of 135,000. They're saying 135,000. So I played at this school, D1 Power Conference, though. You got to take care of the big guys. 135,000. Do you agree with paying the former athletes retroactively, maybe up to 135,000 when it comes to football and men's basketball? 2016 and up, eligible for this settlement that they're trying to put the framework together. What say you? You shouldn't go back damages, or yes, those players earned it as well? 720-1067 is our number. 720-1067. Let's go to the text line for a few answers here. If you want to get in, 720-1067. The next shoe that's going to fall here are the athletes from the 80s and 90s or even early 2000s. Now they're going to sue to get past wages as well. Probably. I don't know. This is a thick case. This is a real case. And now you got Marty Jackley here in South Dakota and the Montana Attorney General looking at, well, we're going to take distributions from the smaller schools to help pay off this settlement to pay big schools currently and big school former athletes? How did we get involved in this mess? Well, you got money from the NCAA tournament all these years. We gave you this money. We're so nice. We give you a spot at the table, and then we give you this money, and now we kind of want to take it away. How nice. Let's see. And by the way, that listener said you're going to have people from the 90s or 2000s. Yeah, like my brother. My brother played in the 90s. What does he deserve? What should he get paid? I don't know. I'll buy him lunch. I'll buy him lunch. Let's see. But that is a point. It starts with these athletes that brought the case. House versus NCAA goes back to 2016. And who's to say now the athletes prior to that, they're going to go, wait, there's some athletes getting paid $100,000 that played in 2016 and they just got a $100,000 check as part of a massive settlement from the NCAA. Yeah, there's my ticket. I mean, this might be never ending. I don't know. They say this is going to solve it. This is going to take care of everybody, make everybody happy. I don't think so. Listener text coming in. Absolutely ridiculous to pay reparations to former student athletes. Welcome to the United States of greed. The United States of greed. Let's see. What are people saying here, voting-wise? Do you agree that former athletes could get back pay with no NIL opportunities? So do you agree they should get some back pay here, maybe $135,000 for the big sports? 68% of you voting right now, no, it shouldn't go that far. 32%, darn near 1 in 3, 32% say, yes, those athletes earned it as well. Very interesting. I'm not a fan of it. I just have to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of it. I know some great athletes. They work really, really hard. I mean, it's unbelievable. I have a lot of respect for them. College athletes, they can't have jobs and everything. Like if there's people out there thinking, oh, they could get a job, they couldn't. My brother played in the 90s when the world was different, and he couldn't even come close to having a job. He played D1 college football. That was the job. That was the job. I mean, it's a massive commitment, unbelievable work on top of the school when it was still important. Yes, it was back in the day, maybe, at least for some. And so it's unbelievable commitment, but I don't know how we pick who's the winner. Now, the big schools need to be taken care of now because they make money, and so those athletes need to revenue share. And we got to take care of some here that are upset because they didn't get paid. So past damages, let's write some checks there. And then we're going to take it from the small schools that nobody cares about and really nobody else will talk about. You won't see that on ESPN. You won't see it on the national stuff. They're not going to care about the Summit League, the Big Sky, the Mountain West. They're not going to care. So they just do it. And then everybody says, hey, this is how it's going to work. Is it okay? I don't think it is. J.D. Piquel's on next, college football analyst. We'll talk to him about this and more. He's with On3.com. J.D. Piquel, former college athlete. What's his read on this next?
Live callers, big-time interviews, and breaking sports news. This is the Nate Brown Show on Fox Sports Rapid City.
Santa in the pool? Oh, my. Renewal by Anderson's incredible Christmas in July 2024 event is so great that even Santa is shocked. 20% off, no money down, no interest, no payments for 18 months. No payments until 2026. Windows, patio, and entry doors from Renewal by Anderson. And Renewal's Acclaim and Ensemble lines are the best of the best. Imagine no payments until 26. Please visit RBARapidCity.com now. It's Christmas in July at Renewal by Anderson. It's so good even Santa is shocked.
We are number one, so you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
Here's your Fox Sports Rapid City forecast. Lows of aloft around 63. Tonight, under clear skies, westerly winds around 5 miles per hour. Bright sunshine expected again. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 97. Lows dip down to about 67. Tomorrow night, clear skies. Dry Friday and Saturday, under clear skies with highs near 100. That's your forecast on the Black Hills Sports Station, Fox Sports Rapid City. Currently, it's 80 degrees.
Elkhorn Ridge Golf Club in Spearfish invites you for the best golfing experience that South Dakota has to offer. Elkhorn Ridge has been ranked by Golf Digest as the #1 public course in the state. Off exit 17 in Spearfish, Elkhorn Ridge offers an 18-hole championship layout with breathtaking views and an experience second to none. South Dakota's #1 public golf course is right in your backyard. Book a tee time and hit the course at Elkhorn Ridge. Visit elkhornridgeresort.com.
Pomp's Tire Service is your low-price headquarters for all major tire brands. We buy tires manufactured direct and sell to you for less. Right now, get up to $265 in rebates on Goodyear, up to $160 in rebates on Bridgestone, or up to $150 in rebates on Firestone. Pomp's Tire won't be undersold. Hurry, offers end July 31st. See store for details. Visit us online at pompstire.com. Pomps, we know tires and service. You should know Pomps.
Hi, this is Dr. Dan Jensen at Physio. We want to be your trusted partner for physical therapy, athlete development, and sports rehab. As the official strength and conditioning partners for Stevens, Central, Douglas, and the Rapid City Rush, our team at Physio is building the best athletes in the Black Hills. If you have an athlete in the family, we offer long-term athlete development at affordable prices for middle and high school students. We also have the only board-certified sports PT in Rapid City. At our brand new facility, Physio is ready to help you perform at your best. One-on-one physical therapy, athlete development, and sports rehab, all at one place. Get started at bhphysio.com.
Hi, this is Rob at Firehouse Wine Cellars, downtown Rapid City. It's summer in the Black Hills, and our selection of wines at Firehouse Wine Cellars has never been better. The difference with Firehouse Wines is we make our wines right here in our modern winemaking facility with real grapes from the best vineyards on the West Coast. If you love wine, you need to sign up for our Firehouse Club 1915, which will get you some exclusive benefits and tastings. Join us this summer at Firehouse Wine Cellars on Main Street and enjoy the best wine in the Black Hills. You can see our great selection right now at FirehouseWineCellars.com.
Live from the Anytime Auto Sales Service and Details Studio, sales, service, and recreation, this is Fox Sports Rapid City.
Welcome back in. Wednesday show on tonight. The Nate Brown Show here, South Dakota Sports Talk Show. Thanks for listening in the Black Hills, 106.7 FM, 1150 AM on the radio side. Bring us up anywhere. We're getting people checking in from Sioux Falls across the state. We appreciate that. Bring us up, foxsportsrapidcity.com. Live stream us there. All right. J.D. Piquel is on tonight. I just saw this. He's going to unveil his national championship, his college football playoff. So we're going to 12 teams. He's going to unveil it tomorrow. I mean, it's a big day here today because his show is The Hard Count. Find him on YouTube, The Hard Count, on3.com. College football analyst J.D. Piquel on the Nate Brown Show. J.D., how are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I appreciate the introduction, man. I'm just fired up. We got football 24 days away, but who's counting?
You're ready. I'm going to ask you a little hitter on some of your predictions here a little bit. I'm going to ask you on that. First, I'm going to come out here. You're a former college athlete, okay? So at a smaller school. And I want to know where you stand on kind of this framework that's coming together with this House versus NCAA settlement. It's nothing set in stone, but they're trying to put it together where some athletes from 2016 up until today could get payments for past damages. There was no NIL. So you might be a football men's basketball player in a power conference school. You might be able to get $100,000, $135,000. What do you think of that model? How the NCAA, I guess, is having to do this? They're being taken to court. They're losing. They're going to have to do this. What do you think of that model paying past athletes?
I think I see where the players are coming from because for a lot of them, they're saying, hey, my stock was the hottest when I was a college athlete. And so I understand the thought behind it. At the same time, I'm like, hey, man, unless you were a Johnny Manziel or you were a Baker Mayfield, you're a Tim Tebow, like, is it really worth rehashing and figuring out exactly how much you were worth? Because to be honest, Nate, and we're seeing this too in modern college football right now, especially with the transfer portal, like your perceived market and your perceived value may not be what your actual value and your actual market is. And so I think to try and retroactively pay out some of these athletes that, you know, maybe wouldn't have had the highest price point when it comes to some of those NIL numbers feels like we're reaching just a little bit. But again, if you're a Johnny Manziel who made his fair share of money anyway during college, or a high-profile player like that, I don't know if this is necessarily something that's worth opening Pandora's box for.
Here's the kicker for me, JD, because you were a smaller school college athlete. The South Dakota States, the Wyomings, and this neck of the woods, North Dakota State, some of these FCS and Mountain West type schools, they're going to be a part of this framework, and they're going to get less NCAA money because the NCAA said, hey, we're going to get a percentage here from these smaller conferences to help pay this settlement, and these smaller conferences aren't a part of this NIL thing nearly as much anyway. That's the kicker, kind of taking it from the small guys. People are going to say, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, this is quite frankly, I mean, honestly, I've been looking most closely at, like, the recruiting world lately and the college football playoff stuff, like we mentioned, but, like, so this is the first I'm hearing of that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know why you would penalize a Wyoming or a South Dakota State or whoever because you want to find a way to move money around to, it sounds like, repay some of these players at bigger schools. To me, this is like, all right, NCAA, this seems to be your mess, or the powers that be, this is your mess. Let's not mess with the fabric of what a Wyoming has going on or a South Dakota State has going on, just to try and make everything work on the books. I'm not a fan of that. Doesn't make any sense to me. And, yeah, not a fan.
Okay, man, I'm going to see if I'm serving up a segment for you after you get done with this college football playoff. I'm serving up a segment for you. Well, it's interesting, and all the details coming out, the framework getting put together, how this settlement's going to go. It's going to be a big one with athletes getting paid currently and former athletes also eligible to get paid. J.D. Piquel's on tonight. You said this, college football playoff goes to 12 teams. You might put in 5 SEC? 5 SEC? Explain yourself.
I know. So, I mean, I think the first thing, I can already hear it coming from the next caller that's going to call into your show and say, that guy's got SEC bias behind it. That guy's just SEC homer. I was born in Seattle. I lived on the West Coast for a long time, went to school in California, played football in the Northeast. So, like, the roots there for me, I would say the SEC bias is a little bit harder to tie together. For me, it comes down to this. If we are going to the 12-team model, clearly, and I think a big factor when we come down to those at-large bids will be reference points for your losses. And so you talk about a team like Tennessee, who I've already said I think they're going to go 10-2 with losses to Bama and Georgia. A 10-2 with those losses, if they're able to keep it, in a respectable margin of loss, versus a Penn State who has 2 losses. Penn State losing to Ohio State and Wisconsin, or Ohio State and insert whatever team you want from the Big Ten next there, doesn't necessarily on paper, at least on a resume perspective, match up quite as well. And so I think that's a microcosm of the way that I'm thinking about it. But I really do believe that the SEC, with the teams that they have ranked in that top 25, and I believe even top 15, top 10 as we go on throughout the course of the season, they're going to have a chance to have the best-looking resume, which I think will result in them being able to land 5 in that top 12.
That's something right there. So if your prediction comes true, they hash it out, they get 5 SEC teams in. What's the national reaction? That's half of the field.
Oh, it's gonna be anarchy. And honestly, even before we found out that this was going to be the model, like, I've been saying this for a long time. Like, I think there was always this thought from a lot of folks that expanding the playoff would hurt the SEC's chances of being able to win a national championship or what have you, because you get more teams in theory. I think it's just going to get more SEC teams in the dance, and I think it's going to ultimately lead to more SEC teams as we get further and further into the tournament. So it may not be that way every year. I think the Big Ten, on any given year, Matt Rule was saying they should have 4 teams in. I thought it actually made a lot more sense than Twitter made it sound like. But this year, I think that there's 5 teams from the SEC, and we'll see how the chips fall when it comes time to actually play football games.
Okay, J.D. Piquel on college football analyst on 3.com. His show is The Hard Count. Watch it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Find him at J.D. Piquel on X Twitter. So how do you think the 12-team playoff is going to feel for college football fans? I'm a big fan, so I'm actually excited about it. I'm not going to get too worried about all the devaluing the regular season. I'm excited to see some really, really good games in these bowl games / playoff. How do you think the college football fans going to react this year?
You know, I think once we get to December and the playoff actually arrives, I think it's going to be phenomenal because we'll have so many great matchups, we'll have so many great games. I think that if you were going to be upset about the playoff, and I was and have been upset about the playoff for the better part of the last year to year and a half, we're at the point now where it's like, does complaining and being upset about it really do anything for us? Like, does complaining about Michigan and Ohio State do anything for anybody? At this point, not really. I would have loved to see that game mean as much as possible, but now you kind of shift the intensity from an Ohio State-Michigan to maybe more so of a Texas A&M. Maybe it's Oklahoma LSU. So I think what we're going to see in that last week of the season, which I've always really appreciated, previously kind of being an extension of the playoff, it may still be an extension of the playoff in the sense where it's win and get in, and a lot less of loser gets eliminated, if that makes sense.
Okay, I want to get your read on a couple of the big headlines. Do you feel like the Colorado Buffaloes are going to take strides this year? They came out hot, and then they fell off the map. Colorado has a tough start. North Dakota State, big FCS game. Nebraska second. What do you think the Buffs and Dion can do?
You know, I'm kind of going with my gut here a little bit because you look at the schedule and it's like, golly, man, like they got their work cut out for them, especially when it comes to late October, November. I think when we look at this roster, my gut is that they will be better than last year, which based on the line of scrimmage, not a super high bar to be set for the good folks out there in Boulder, but I do think they end up finding their way to that 6-6 range. The tough part about this is with Colorado, like they have been so polarizing and been such a story that even is outside of the college football sphere to where it's almost like not allowed to say that you're not 100% sure on what Deion Sanders is going to be at Colorado. Like, even after the TCU game, it was like, do you believe? It's like, well, Coach, I don't know if I believe. It's been one game. Like, maybe give me a little bit of time to figure out what you're going to be at Colorado and what this roster is going to be. I think he's an improvement from what they've had in Colorado. The record speaks for itself. Going from 1 win to 4 wins is obviously a massive improvement, but to crown them as like a college football playoff team or a Big 12 title contending team to me feels a little bit silly at this point in time. Let's just be happy with 6-6. If they can get there, great. It's going to be a hard fought 6-6 if they do make that happen with.
Did I lose you? Are you there? Maybe.
Gotten a bit off the rails.
Okay, man, I got you. One more quick one, JD. If I were asked you release your top 25 today. Who do you have top two teams going into the season? Who are your teams?
No, I got a boring answer for you, unfortunately, Nate. I got Georgia. I got Ohio State. Right now in July, I'm talking rosters. I'm talking head coaches. And say what you want about Ryan Day. He's won north of 85% of his games. I really like, obviously, what Georgia has. So to give it to you quick, Georgia won, Ohio State 2, and we'll see what happens in the fall.
Tomorrow he's going to release it, the playoff, the national championship. He's going to throw it out on the Hard Count on 3.com's college football analyst J.D. Piquel tonight. J.D., always good, man. Thanks for the time.
Thanks so much, Nate. Have a great one, man.
Appreciate your time. J.D. Piquel popping in. College football on 3.com. His show, The Hard Count. And tomorrow he says he's going to release his playoff. Here's what he does have. He said, I've got 5 from the SEC in the 12-team playoff. Are we gonna lose our minds on that? If that were to happen, I mean, I don't put it past them. You got to remember how this 4-team playoff went. I mean, we all know what happens with the 4-team, right? Where, oh no, Alabama's not going to get in again, are they? They lost. Well, they lost twice. So you know how the SEC, man, they just get it handled. The SEC just gets it handled. He's saying 5 teams are going to get into the playoff. I think that's a little much, but he explained it like, what about Tennessee? Tennessee, they go 10-2, and they only lost to Georgia. Okay, that's one of their losses. Maybe Alabama, Texas, whatever it is. So he said you can validate those losses, and then you're not going to put in a Tennessee who won 10 games in the top 12. That's what the SEC's always, their argument is, this is the best conference, so who cares if we have 5 teams in the playoff? That's the best conference. You want the best teams, right? Remember the argument. So we want the top 4 teams. We want the best teams. We don't want to just hand a gift over. You know, like Florida State. Everybody got upset. Florida State thought they should have been in the playoff this last year. Their quarterback gets hurt. They get bounced. People were all upset about that. They had this argument. Florida State should have been in there. No, we decided to do SEC instead. And that's the type of argument that's going to happen. 12-team playoff. There's a lot of room for SEC teams. A lot of room. Matt Rule did say, Nebraska head coach, you caught that last week. He said, hey, the Big Ten, we should probably have 4 teams in every year. Are you guys going to get turned off at all if it's Big Ten with 4 teams, SEC with 5? Now we got 3 spots for everyone else? Is that going to turn us off at all? Because you got these big conferences. Think about them. Big Ten's a huge conference. SEC's now a big conference. So are we going to get upset when Oregon makes it? Ohio State makes it? Okay? Michigan, when they're good? Penn State? You're going to get upset if 4 teams from the Big Ten make it? 5 from the SEC? Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Tennessee? Are you going to get upset about that? We got 9 teams out of a 12-team field. It sure doesn't feel like it's going to be very great to me. I love college football, and we watch SEC regular season games in the Big Ten anyway, and now we're going to have rematches or whatever it may be in the playoff. I think that's going to be a little much if you end up really weighting it that way. Big Ten with a chunk, SEC with a big chunk, and then a couple of spots for everyone else. I think that's going to backfire a little bit, and I think it may happen. Those conferences control college football now. That's the end of the story. And if you're a Big Ten fan, like a Husker fan, and you're buying into the Big Ten, maybe you won't care. But you're going to end up having 1 from the Big 12, 1 from the ACC, maybe 4 Big Ten, 5 SEC, and then 1 at-large, like Boise State or somebody. Don't tell Matt Kearney. But they might have a spot. They might. I think that's not a great look. 5 and 4 and then a few others. I don't think it's a great look. Interesting stuff. J.D. Pickell, his pick this year, 5 from the SEC are going to make the 12-team playoff, nearly half of the field. Coming right back, SDPB Sports. East River meets West River with Craig Maddock from Sioux Falls. A lot to discuss in South Dakota high school sports, including a high school football team changing their plan here pretty late as we get ready for the season. We'll get into that on the way.
This is South Dakota's sports talk show, The Nate Brown Show, on FoxSportsRapidCity.com and live on 106.7 FM and 1150 AM, Fox Sports Rapid City.
Santa in the pool? Oh my! Renewal by Anderson's incredible Christmas in July 2024 event is so great that even Santa is shocked. 20% off, no money down, no interest, no payments for 18 months. No payments until 2026. Windows, patio, and entry doors from Renewal by Anderson. And Renewal's Acclaim and Ensemble lines are the best of the best. Imagine no payments until 26. Please visit RBARapidCity.com now. It's Christmas in July at Renewal by Anderson. It's so good even Santa is shocked.
We are number one. So you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
Attention all pickleball players, get ready for the second annual Beat the Heat Pickleball Tournament at the Boxelder Event Center on August 10th and 11th. Pick up your paddles and join us for a weekend of smashing, volleying, and competing. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we have divisions for all skill levels. Meet fellow pickleball enthusiasts and enjoy a day of fun. Register now at thebox.live. Last day to register is August 5th. See you on the courts.
During the summer months, residents may encounter someone at their door looking to sell a product or a service, especially with the recent storms and flooding. The Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division offers these tips. Avoid high-pressure sales tactics. Check for ID, such as a revenue license and proof of insurance. Ask for references and compare prices with local businesses. If you have questions regarding a door-to-door sale, contact the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986 or at consumerhelp@state.sd.us.
When it comes to protecting your home and your belongings, what works for your neighbor most likely won't work for you. Insurance is personal, and that's why the coverage specialists at Fisher Rounds & Associates work with you to tailor a policy that protects your family, home, auto, and other valuable possessions at the most reasonable cost possible. We sweat the small and the big stuff, so you don't have to. That's at your service, at your side. Fisher Rounds & Associates, with offices in Pierre, Mitchell, Rapid City, Sioux Falls, and Watertown.
Hanging with Brian from Anytime Auto Sales. I see a new model of Bushwhacker Teardrop on your lot.
Yes, you do. We're proud to feature the new Radical line of Bushwhackers from Braxton Creek. And along with the Bushwhacker 12SK, bang for the buck, there's nothing out there like these new Braxton Creek Bushwhacker Teardrops.
You just gotta see these new Radical Bushwhacker Teardrops. So many options for their size.
The Radical line just took boondocking up another notch. And right now, you'll get the best price all year on these ultra-light, ultra-beefy, option-loaded Bushwhacker Teardrops. Save $1,500 right now on the Radical 10 HD and the 12SK Teardrop Campers.
So many options for towing. No need for a diesel or big truck.
Exactly. These only weigh around 1,500 pounds, so they can be towed by almost any rig. There will never be a better time to buy this year.
Come check them out and save thousands on all campers. See AnytimeAnytime.com, and as always at the corner of Highway 79 and East Minnesota.
Anytime Auto Sales.
Hi, it's Colin Coward. Great to be in the Black Hills. Getting heard weekdays 10 to 1 on 106.7 FM and 1150 AM. Fox Sports.
All right, welcome back in. South Dakota Sports Talk Show, the Nate Brown Show on 106.7 FM, 1150 AM in Rapid City. The Black Hills Sports Station, Fox Sports Rapid City. Stream us there, foxsportsrapidcity.com. We are live on X right now. Stream us there, live in studio on X, at Nate Brown Show. Thanks for checking in. Major League Baseball sports agent Mark Lineweaver is going to join us live tonight. So he's got some great players in the league. We've never had a sports agent on. He's got South Dakota ties, and he's going to be talking to some of our local athletes and local coaches. So I wanted to hear more about Mark Lineweaver, Major League Baseball agent. He'll be joining us live straight ahead. Mike Wall's coming in, 11-year NFL veteran, played for the Packers, Brett Favre and that crew. He's now an NFL analyst and performance coach. Mike Wall straight ahead talking NFL, Packers, and more. Craig Maddock, not quite a performance coach, but he's a great performer. He's a great performer still. SDPB Sports. His podcast is In Play. He actually did a podcast with an Olympian, the beach volleyball player from Sioux Falls. He has that In Play. He did that this past winter. Craig, good to get you on. How are you?
I'm doing great, Nate. Yeah, Taryn Cloth. What a story. I talked with her on my In Play podcast last November, and you can go to SDPB Sports on Twitter or Facebook, or SDPB Sports /In Play on all of the podcasts I did. And what a great story for her, because she really didn't. She was a pretty good basketball player, but then after a while, I didn't want to play basketball anymore and wanted to play volleyball. And eventually got into the beach volleyball when she went down to LSU. So great story, and everyone's, at least in Sioux Falls, something a little special watching a Sioux Falls girl doing well in Paris.
No, that's great. Taryn Cloth from Sioux Falls in beach volleyball out at the Olympics. Speaking of the Olympics, I have a question of the day on the Olympics for Craig Maddock. There is no age limit in the Olympics. No age limit. There's an 11-year-old that's competing at the Olympics this week. An 11-year-old. Should there be a minimum age limit, Craig Maddock?
Is it a female?
It is a skateboarder, so I'm not sure on that.
A skateboarder, yeah, I heard about that. Well, certainly the 11-year-old can do a lot more than what I could on a skateboard. So, I kind of think you got to be at least 16 or so, don't you think?
I do think so, but my audience is telling me on right now, no, any age is fine. If you qualify, you qualify, which I get it. We've had, 15-year-old gymnasts there. You've seen some 14-year-olds. So figure skaters in the winter. I just feel like no age limit. You got an 11-year-old. I know it's skateboarding. It's one of the new events. It's 11 years old on a worldwide competition. We whine about these little leaguers and we worry about them crying on the Little League World Series. Yet we put 11-year-olds in the Olympics.
Yeah, well, they're that good. I mean, putting to shame all those other old people, doing the skateboard thing. But I guess if you win it, it doesn't matter what age you are.
It's that's young to me. That is young. Yeah. I have an 11-year-old daughter. And she's in the Olympics.
And she's not in the Olympics yet?
Boy, I failed. I have failed. Should have took up skateboarding a long time ago. We were on the pogo stick instead, I know. Okay, let me ask you this. Sioux Falls School District creating a stir, Craig Maddock. They have announced no more cash at high school games. So you're going to come to the games this fall, soccer, volley, or football, whatever. You're going to pay on your card, no cash.
This may surprise you.
Okay, and
Mr. Brown.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Because I know you have cash in your pocket that never gets out of your pocket anyway.
I have zero cash. Zero.
I don't carry any cash with me anymore. I don't. I've got a card, maybe two, that I carry all the time. I don't carry cash anymore, and the youngins, they don't carry cash anymore either. I mean, they're doing everything on Venmo, and they're using the card just to touch the credit card deal, and boom, it goes, and they go out of the C-store, and they got all their stuff or groceries. I mean, you go to U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis for Vikings games. I mean, same thing there.
Is that cashless?
It's cashless.
Okay.
I mean, when you go up to get your Diet Coke during the game, you can't pay cash.
Right.
It's by card, and Sioux Falls is doing that. I mean, if you go to a concert or a Stampede game at the Denny Sanford Premier Center, that's cashless too.
Sounds like you're good with it. You're good with it.
I'm fine. That way I don't, all that cash I do have, I can put it somewhere else.
So I'm good with it. I'm not the old man yelling at the clouds. You thought I was going to be, Craig. I could tell. You thought so. I'm good with it.
I just know that you don't pull anything out of your pockets anyway.
No, that's right.
I'm in Rapid City.
That is right. No cash from me because I have cards as well. But I've gotten some listener feedback when I first started talking about this week, and they've said, hey, this should be an option at least. It should be an option for grandparents. They're coming. They're not going to know. And then you're going to end up with Grandpa saying, hey, take my $6. This is ridiculous. And what are you going to do?
I know. It takes time to let everybody know because even at U.S. Bank Stadium, there are still people when when we're partying in the plaza before we go to the game, we find out that people go, oh, no, I don't have a card. I just brought cash. And, then they got to figure out how they're going to be able to get in. So it does take time, and you got to get the word out. And it's one of those
going to be
where
a headache. You know that.
Once you've got it figured out, you always have your card with you.
Okay, what if Craig Maddock's card gets declined at Howard Wood Field? You're going to the game, it's declined, Craig.
Well, I got a special line that I can go into.
You're out. You're done. It's cashless.
I have to go back and get my wife.
All right. So cashless at Sioux Falls high school events. That's very interesting. I'll remember that when I head out there this fall. Craig Maddox on tonight, SDPB Sports. He's in Sioux Falls. Find him at Craig Maddox on Twitter X. By the way, I had Jim Bridge on my show.
Great guy.
Yes. Long-time coach. If people don't know, just retired. 38 years at Hanson, head coach. 636 wins, all-time winningest girls basketball. So great history. And I was looking. So some of these older guys are getting out. And then I've seen some coaches get positions. I've seen kids, I call them kids, they're head varsity coaches that have been hired this year right after college. They just graduated, and they're only 23, something like that. What do you think about the young coaches getting head varsity jobs?
Well, eventually it's got to happen anyway, but you know what? We're getting into the phase of your and my careers there, Mr. Brown, where the old timers, the men and the women who've been in the coaching biz for over 25, maybe 30 or 40 years, you know, that wave is starting to move through. And I mean, you got to replace them sooner or later. In fact, I think with Hanson, I think they have like 5 brand new coaches this year, and all of them very, very young. So I mean, you know, that phase is coming through. Are we going to see a bunch of coaches go 30, 40 years? Oh, boy. That's tough. It's tough to do.
Here's what I'd like to see.
That's why when the Jim Bridge and the Kim Nelson and all those other guys that went through, that was pretty impressive what they did.
I'm thinking those guys, and even Jim, I talked to him about this. He started out as a freshman coach. I mean, he started out as an assistant, and you have mentors, and you learn along the way. Are we just needing so many coaches that, hey, you're 23, here you go, good luck?
Well, you know, a lot of schools, unfortunately, have problems, you know, finding teachers. And you know what? They got to find teachers first before they find coaches. And sometimes in the smaller school districts, well, even the larger school districts have the situation too, where, you know, they need a science teacher or a special ed teacher, but they also need let's say a football coach. Well, unfortunately, the science teacher you hire can't coach football, and so you hire from outside the district. And, you know, that's a challenge for a number of school districts as well.
Young coaches, more young coaches taking over, not at the JV level per se, but some head varsity coaches right out of college here in South Dakota. Craig Maddox tonight. Last one, White River is just settled on changing their football schedule, and they're going to now play in the All Nations. So they said due to numbers, competitiveness, you know, there was some input. They had some discussions. Yep. White River's going to change. You said before 6-man football should be an option. I'm with you on that for some of these small towns, small programs. There's a discussion at the school as the board of directors is getting ready to meet. There's a discussion when this happens a lot. Schools come up to the year. Oh man, we don't have big numbers. We may not have a football schedule here. It happens almost with 1 or 2 schools every year. The board of directors discussing, should there be a fine or some penalty for those schools that change with weeks leading up to the season?
I would not do the fine thing. I mean, a lot of that is not under the control of the school. I mean, they're hoping they get 15 kids out. I mean, let's face it, girls can play football. You get 16 people on the football field, and that way you can have an offense and a defense. But we have seen it where schools, they don't get the numbers that they expected, and so they're hanging there. But no, I wouldn't fine them. They're trying their best to try to get a team together, and White River with Louis Krogman, King Louis now, the superintendent there at White River, who was on my in-play podcast last year. Good for them. I mean, they're looking at participation levels, and that's part of that conference too. The numbers have been kind of low, but we've seen the numbers kind of build after they've been in the All Nations conference for a couple of years, and so it kind of builds some confidence or interest in kids who want to come out and play football. So I wish them the best. I know it's a change, but you know what? It's kind of in their wheelhouse, right? They don't have to travel too far for a lot of those games.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. That was just an initial discussion, like how do we stop some of these schools that, you know, are really struggling, and then they tell you kind of late, should there be a penalty there, a fine? I don't think that would work. An initial discussion at the strategic planning meeting for the board. The official board meeting coming up tomorrow. Craig Maddock tonight, SDPB Sports, in play as the podcast. He had an Olympian on. It's always great, Craig. Thanks for coming on.
All right, Nate. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate your time. As always, my friend Craig Maddock, East River meets West River on the Nate Brown Show, SDPB Sports, longtime South Dakota sports broadcaster, and he never has cash. He's fine. Cashless tickets at high school games. He never has cash. Craig and myself, lockstep there. Matt Kearney's going to go on his cash crusade. He's going to go on his cash crusade to keep high school sports out of being treated like U.S. Bank Stadium. This isn't the Vikings. This is Phillip. Right? All right. Mike Wall is in next. Packers broadcasting analyst. Block Party is his podcast. Great analyst in the NFL. Mike Wall, former Green Bay Packer O-lineman. Next.
From high school to college to the pros, this is the Nate Brown Show on 106.7 FM and 1150 AM Fox Sports Rapid City.
Santa in the pool? Oh my. Renewal by Anderson's incredible Christmas in July 2024 event is so great that even Santa is shocked. 20% off, no money down, no interest, no payments for 18 months. No payments until 2026. Windows, patio, and entry doors from Renewal by Anderson. And Renewal's Acclaim and Ensemble lines are the best of the best. Imagine no payments until 26. Please visit RBARapidCity.com now. It's Christmas in July at Renewal by Anderson. It's so good even Santa is shocked.
We are number one. So you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
HillsTire.com. Hi, I'm Tim Wrench, and I'm seeking personal injury cases. If you've been injured because someone else did something wrong, call me up. I'm a trial lawyer. I've tried criminal and civil cases for decades, and I can use all of that experience to help you. I also know this, that when insurance companies know that you're represented by a trial lawyer, they take your claim more seriously, and if it is to be settled, it's settled better with a trial lawyer. Wrench Law, 605-341-1111, wrenchlaw.com.
At Fleet Farm, we know every sunny day doesn't begin and end with us. But if it did, we've got you covered. Everyday fishing gear from Rapala, Berkeley, and Minn Kota. Everyday grilling goods from Weber, Kingsford, and Blackstone. Everyday camping gear from Coleman, Yeti, and Eureka. Whatever makes your day, we're right there with you. At Fleet Farm, we've got everything you need for everyday life.
Hey, it's Chris Broussard. Remember to catch the Odd Couple weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. right here on Fox Sports Rapid City. And now, let's get back to Rapid City Sports Talk Show, The Nate Brown Show.
Welcome back in South Dakota Sports Talk Show live, 106.7 FM, 1150 AM. This is Fox Sports Rapid City, the Nate Brown Show. Coming up, Major League Baseball agent Mark Lineweaver. Trade deadline yesterday. Some of his players on the move. Mark Lineweaver, South Dakota Connections. He's been out on the speaking circuit. He's talking to some of our local high schools here. This is a great story, so I'm going to talk about his career and his vision for high school sports and why he does this. So Mark Lineweaver coming up, Major League Baseball agent, straight ahead. Mike Wall's on tonight. Hey, it's Mike back in former Green Bay Packer, 11-year NFL veteran. His podcast, Block Party. Training camp's underway. This is when Mike's getting ready to go, breaking down some film, right? It's coming. It's coming. Mike, good to have you on. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Nate. Yeah, man, I'm just waiting for these games to start so I can start watching film again.
You're ready. So I want to ask you about this. Maybe it's not a big deal, and you probably say it's not, but tomorrow night you have this first game with the Bears and the opening preseason game, and nobody really cares, but it is the Bears. It's Caleb Williams, and then they announce, well, nobody's going to play. So what should NFL fans think? This is a trend that's going on. Starters aren't playing that much. What should we think? Debut of Caleb Williams and not really?
Well, I'm sure he'll play during the preseason at some point. They do have an extra game here, so if you're going to follow like the regularly scheduled programming from the Chicago Bears, I would imagine he's going to play next week because they have this extra game. But you know, honestly, Nate, with all that's going on, they're going to try to go to from the 17 to the 18 game season now, probably next year or the year after. And the preseason and the off season in the NFL, it's just a dramatic difference in what we're kind of those of us who grew up in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s are used to seeing. But this is the trend now, and you're trying to. These guys, the longer you play during the regular season, the less of this other stuff you have the bandwidth for physically, mentally, and emotionally. So I think this is the new reality I think that we're living with.
Okay, so the NFL has been discussing, and you know when they discuss, I mean, it's going to happen, 18 regular season games. Right. Do you think that's going to happen pretty quickly here? And then what happens to the preseason? We take another game away?
Yeah, I think so. The funny thing is that even when we were playing 16 games back in the day, if you're asking starters, the guys that are going to play into the playoffs, we're all looking at like we really need 2-3 quarters tops to feel like we're ready to go. The preseason, just from a development and kind of roster identity aspect, the preseason's really to knock out those roster spots 40 to 53. I think, especially when you're talking about all 4 games. So you don't really need them. I don't know that there's a player out there that is the guys that you are really looking forward to watching on Sunday that is thinking, I can't wait to get 4 or even 3 preseason games in. So I think the trend is probably going to be you get to 18, you whittle it down to 2. They probably shortened the length of training camp by a week. And you're going to see some teams handle this differently. Sean McVay certainly started a trend a couple of years ago by not playing his guys in the preseason.
Yeah.
And then again, Nate, we know that when all these teams, Belichick did this and figured it out early, when you can have a joint practice with another team, that is actually in a much better environment to develop your own talent in a safe environment, in a relatively safe space, more so than a preseason game. So you're going to see more teams continue to work on that joint practice idea and a lot less emphasis put on these preseason games.
Okay, let's go to some of these contracts, Mike. I want to know your perspective as a former player. This quarterback spot is the most valuable spot in sports. So Tua gets a big deal, and average value a year is $53 million. Jordan Love for the Packers, a big deal, a little bit more average value, $55 million. And so that's just the next step. It feels like, well, this guy got it, now this guy got it. Out of those 2 guys, do we know who deserves that contract?
They both do. They're both starters in the National Football League for winning football teams. They have good young offensive-minded coaches. They have pieces around them that can help them find success. So, and then that's the market. The market is right now. If you're looking at the NFL and you say let's say there's 16 teams that feel like they have a starting quarterback that's going to lead them to conference championship games, etc., then you're going to pay those guys top dollar, and whatever the new standard is, if it's $55, $56 million, the next guy's kind of in line to get right around there, and I think that's just, that's the reality that we have now with this ever-increasing salary cap, and believe me, Dave, when we talk about the 18th game, it's these guys, the agents, the quarterbacks, the general managers, they understand what that means in dollar terms. Like, this cap's going to only go up from here, so 53.5 and $55 million might sound like a ton of money in 2024, but wait till 2027.
Okay, so I had an NFL writer say he thinks eventually some team's going to hold. They're going to hold firm, and the quarterback bubble is going to burst. Not somebody's going to say, no, I just can't do it. I'm going to go back to draft a rookie, develop. That's how the only way we can handle this.
I'm sure. Well, listen, Pete Carroll had, he was so innovative when he came in from USC to Seattle. He basically just said, we're going to play college football. We're going to bring these guys in that want to be game changers, Earl Thomases of the world. We're going to coach them up really hard. We're going to have the most competitive practices in the league. And we're going to go out there and play these young guys. And if they earn that second contract, and only a few are going to earn it, but if they do, then we'll pay them. Otherwise, we'll just cycle through the next guy. And they had a lot of success for a lot of years doing that. And I think at some stage, you're going to basically, another way to say what you're saying, Nate, is that team doesn't value the person they have in the building, right? Because if they valued them, they really couldn't do that. Because if the going rate's $55 million, for example, you either think your guy's worth it or they're not. Because if you're a head coach and you're looking down the barrel of, okay, I have a bona fide starter and they're not willing to pay him, so they're going to put a rookie in place, and we don't know what that's going to look like. You as the head coach know that your job is in jeopardy now. So I don't know that with a bona fide starter in the National Football League that team is vetted and gone through wars with and feels comfortable with. I don't know that they're not going to pull the trigger at $55 million now. I think what you're talking about maybe more so is the 26th ranked quarterback that's trying to get $50 million. Maybe the team's just going, you're not worth it. I'll take my chances with the rookie.
And you feel like, hey, Mike, your team, the Packers, they've seen enough from Jordan Love more than the fans and all of the national guys are saying, well, he only played last season and look, the beginning part was not great, and then he turned it on, and now he gets this big deal. You say the Packers have seen more than that.
Well, certainly. They see him in practice every day. They know what he goes through in the offseason, the preparation he puts in. Look, Jordan Love's development is not limited to the Green Bay Packers, certainly. Like, he's got offseason coaches. He does some stuff on his own. He works with his receiving core. Like, they have seen so many reps of this guy. And, for any of us, outside of the building to postulate on whether he's worth it or not, quite frankly, it's fun to talk about, but it's ridiculous. The one caveat you look at when you look at Jordan Love is they got rid of Aaron Jones. And I'm going to talk about this on my show. I'm about to shoot after a block party show. I'm about to shoot after I get off the phone with you, Nate, is, the first 10 games or so of the season when they're not playing very well, Aaron Jones is injured for a good portion of that, right? He hurts himself. He actually pulls his groin, I believe, or hamstring. In the first game of the Chicago Bears' first game of the season, he's kind of battling an injury for a couple of weeks. When he gets back healthy is when this team turns it on. And everybody's talking about now because he's not on the team, Jordan Love did this and all these numbers. The reason that team was doing well, we talked about it all year on Block Party, was that Aaron Jones showed up healthy again, and all of a sudden that lighter fluid was part of the offense, and they exploded on the scene. They played really well throughout the playoffs. Without him, with a new guy back there and Josh Jacobs, they just signed for, I think, $48 million or something like that. And he's a great player, but not having that guy and what he meant to this offense, that'll be really interesting. And if there was a devil's advocate conversation that somebody asked me to get into with Jordan Love, that would be the only thing I could lean on.
Great stuff with Mike Wall, his podcast. He's going to shoot it right now, Block Party. Download it, watch it. He's at Mike Wall 68 on X Twitter, former Green Bay Packer. Mike, good to have you back on. Thanks for hopping in.
All right, Nate, have a good week.
Thanks a lot. Mike Wall tonight, former Packer, 11-year NFL vet. His podcast, Block Party. Great NFL analyst now. Mike Wall live talking NFL and Packers. He's at X Twitter at Mike Wall 68. We're ready into the drive at 5 on the Nate Brown Show with 5 questions from Chris. Yes, it's Wednesday edition. Loyal listener Chris sends me 5 questions. How about some answers next?
You're listening to The Nate Brown Show.
Save big money now at Menards. Mastercraft has been making great doors inside and out for over 50 years. Choose from the best in-stock selection of doors, ready to take home today. Or design your door your way in-store or on Menards.com. Save big on Mastercraft doors at Menards, America's #1 home improvement retailer for customer satisfaction, according to J.D. Power. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Save big money at Menards.
Hi, it's Nate Brown for WeatherTight Exteriors. We all love the warm weather that summer brings to the Black Hills, but with that warm weather, we all know that storms can pop up and do some damage to our homes. That's actually just what happened to me. And when that happens, the company you can count on is WeatherTight Exteriors. They've won Best of the Black Hills 5 years in a row. I'm working with them right now, and I'm 100% satisfied. When it comes to your home, work with someone you can count on. Learn more at weathertight.com. They'll stand behind their work.
The next best thing to a new Toyota is a certified pre-owned Toyota, and we have them at Danny Menho Toyota. Shop a nice selection of certified pre-owned Toyotas and get financing as low as 6.39% APR for up to 60 months on Camrys, RAV4s, Highlanders, and Corollas. Shop the area's best selection of used Toyotas and Toyota certified pre-owned at Danny Menho Toyota or DannyMenhoToyota.com. 1951 per 1,000 finance regardless of down payment with qualified credit. Expires 9/3/24.
KIMM Rapid City and K294BT Rapid City, the Black Hills Sports Station, 106.7 FM and 1150 AM. Fox Sports Rapid City.
We're all going somewhere. Going higher, faster, farther. Going in new directions, to new places. At Monument Health, we keep going so you can keep going. We're dedicated to advanced orthopedic care with the latest innovations, technology, expertise, and treatment. So keep exploring, keep making memories, keep going with Monument Health as your partner. Learn more at monument.health/orthopedics.
Remember when life was simple? Nope, me neither. The summer sun may feel great to us, but summer heat takes its toll on your vehicle. Don't risk your family's vacation fun by ignoring vehicle maintenance. When it comes to your vehicle maintenance or repair, keeping it simple is easy. The ASE certified technicians at Al's D&I can make sure your car is in top running condition. Maintenance now or fix it later. Most vehicles, most years, and most countries. Al's D&I can fix them. Check in at Al's D&I on Sturgis Road and online at alsdniautorepair.com.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick. Remember to catch me weekday mornings from 7 until 10 a.m. right here on 106.7 FM and 1150 a.m. Fox Sports Rapid City. And now, back to Rapid City's sports talk show, The Nate Brown Show.
Welcome back in. You've made it. Drive at 5 on a Wednesday. Hope you've had a great day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of the program live 4 to 6. If you missed some of the show, a reminder, the Nate Brown Show podcast available. Just search The Nate Brown Show wherever you get your podcast, and you've got this show with all of our guests every day, so we don't repeat guests or repeat segments. Go to the Nate Brown Show podcast, and you've got the show there. John Stiegelmeier joined us live yesterday. It was a great discussion. Fun to talk to Coach. Haven't talked to him for over a year. Wanted to see what a year in retirement's like after coaching at SDSU for so long. That's all he knew. And great to talk to Coach Stig last night. Search The Nate Brown Show wherever you get your podcasts, and you've got us there on Apple, Spotify, Amazon. We're on all the platforms. Coming up, Major League Baseball agent Mark Lineweaver, connected to South Dakota. Got connected with him. He's talked to our athletic directors here in the state. He's going to talk to some local schools here in the area, Rapid City Central, over at Stevens, Douglas. Mark Lineweaver, a speaker and a Major League Baseball agent, is going to join us live, talk about his career in sports and why he's going down this high school speaking road with today's athletes. Mark Lineweaver coming up on the Nate Brown Show. Drive at 5. Here it is. Brought to you by Summit Automotive Group, summitautogrp.com. That's where you want to start when it comes to pre-owned in Rapid City. If you're looking to pre-owned, start at summitautogrp.com. Experience car buying built around you from start to finish. Okay, here we go. It's a Wednesday. It is 5 questions from Chris. All right, Chris, what do we got? Olympic heavy version, right? You sent me this email. You said Olympic heavy version. I'm good with that. Let's see what I know. Question number 1. 5 questions from Chris. Nate, the NBA and Olympic basketball have mostly the same rules, but a few differences. Under the Olympic rules, a basketball player gets credit for an assist if it leads to a free throw. Should the NBA adopt that stat? So you pass the ball, Steph Curry gets fouled, he makes his free throws, that's an assist. Little secret, Chris. Little secret. So I'm going to take you all the way back when I started keeping stats for the varsity team in Montana. I was a 9-year-old. I was a 9-year-old, Chris. And you know what I did? I gave the assist to our varsity players when they passed it and that player made a free throw. Did I start a cutting edge? A way to keep stats? I did that, so I'm going to take credit for it. And I like it. I don't mind it. I mean, you pass the ball, you're a team player, they get fouled, and they make their free throws. That's an assist. That's an assist. How many assists would Caitlin Clark have if that was the case? Even more. So I'm going to book that. If it worked for me at 9 years old, keeping stats for the varsity players in Montana, it should be working in the NBA today. All right, question number 2. The Olympic Committee awarded Salt Lake City the 2036 Winter Games. The Salt Lake City chairman agreed as part of their contract, the IOC, they would use their influence in getting the FBI to stop their investigation of the World Anti-Doping Agency of the Chinese swimmers here at the Paris Games. Wow, this is deep. Who do you think's going to blink first? The IOC, the International Olympic Committee, or the FBI? I'll go with the FBI every time. If I got to choose between the IOC and the stuff that goes on there or the FBI, I'm going FBI every time. Bring it home. The IOC, give me a break. The FBI should investigate more than the Chinese swimmers. That's my guess. There's a lot to investigate at the Olympics. Hate to tell you. Good luck. Question number 3. Major League Baseball Players Union is looking at playing in the LA Summer Olympics. Major League Baseball. Do you think it would be good for baseball to have Major League Baseball players in the Olympics for 2 weeks? Or is the World Baseball Classic the best way? No, that would be outstanding, Chris. I'm an Olympics fan. Major League Baseball players in the Summer Olympics would be outstanding. I don't know if they're going to let them do it because the WNBA has stopped their season because of the Olympics. Would Major League Baseball right now take a break to let their players play? I doubt it. The owners are going to go, good idea, not so much. So I would love to see it. You will not see it. I would love to see Major League Baseball players in the Olympics. You will not see it. Question number 4, 5 questions from Chris. There's a high school in Maryland, Winston Churchill High School, the first in the nation to offer pickleball as a varsity sport. Would it be a good idea for South Dakota School District, Rapid City as well, to think about pickleball or bocce ball as a club sport and then maybe even a sanctioned sport down the road? Pickleball, I think it's a nice sport. It's a very popular sport. I didn't realize the high school kids were playing it, but yeah, I mean, you just offer it as a club sport. Why not? I don't know. It's got to catch on a little bit, but let's start with baseball first. We got to get that sanctioned. Then, but I mean, give me a break here, Chris. We got esports they're competing in South Dakota, so you want to throw in like pickleball? I'm for it. High school in Maryland going to have pickleball as a varsity sport. How about that? I'm for it. I don't know when you'll see it in South Dakota, but how about that? All right. Question number 5. Jordan Love signed his new contract with the Packers, $55 million average a year. If Love comes anywhere near the player that Aaron Rodgers or Favre were for the Packers, will the Packers front office get the credit, or will it fall into luck? They got to get some credit. I mean, they shipped out Aaron Rodgers. They trusted Jordan Love. He took them deep last year in the playoffs. I mean, I know it was 1 year, but he took them deep. If Love's the guy for the Packers and they're set, count yourself very blessed by that front office, Chris, because I'm a Broncos fan. We've had Elway and Manning, and that's it. You guys have had a long stretch. Favre, Rodgers, is Love going to be there for the next 10? That'd be something. That should be credit, not luck. They're seeing something in Jordan Love. They're taking a shot with him. 5 questions from Chris in the books on a Wednesday. Major League Baseball agent Mark Lineweaver. His story as he joins me live next.
You're listening to The Nate Brown Show. Follow us and watch the show live on Twitter at Nate Brown Show.
Santa in the pool? Oh my. Renewal by Anderson's incredible Christmas in July 2024 event is so great that even Santa is shocked. 20% off, no money down, no interest, no payments for 18 months. No payments until 2026. Windows, patio, and entry doors from Renewal by Anderson. And Renewal's Acclaim and Ensemble lines are the best of the best. Imagine no payments until 26. Please visit RBARapidCity.com now. It's Christmas in July at Renewal by Anderson. It's so good even Santa is shocked.
We are number one. So you can always be their number one. Black Hills Surgical Hospital and Black Hills Orthopedic and Spine Center. The number one hospital in the nation for major orthopedic surgery.
76-44. Whether you run the race, make the catch, cast a line, pitch a tent, or just look good doing it, Shields Rapid City has your gear. From athletic clothing from your favorite team, cold weather gear to keep you warm, to the best camping selection this side of the Black Hills, and the most stylish and functional women's outerwear and footwear. Shields has the widest selection of the best brands in the business. So when you're ready to get out, get in the game, or get going, get to Shields. Shields, we're right there with you at Rushmore Crossing in Rapid City.
Pomp's Tire Service is your low-price headquarters for all major tire brands. We buy tires manufactured direct and sell to you for less. Right now, get up to $265 in rebates on Goodyear, up to $160 in rebates on Bridgestone, or up to $150 in rebates on Firestone. Pomp's Tire won't be undersold. Hurry, offers end July 31st. See store for details. Visit us online at pompstire.com. Pomps, we know tires and service. You should know Pomps.
The Honda Summer event is on at Denny Menholt Rushmore Honda. Shop the area's best selection of pre-owned Hondas and Honda certified pre-owned. Get financing as low as 1.99% APR on certified pre-owned CRVs and other select models. Over 30 certified pre-owned available. Civics, Accords, CRVs, Pilots, Ridgelines, and more. Plus, a lot full of used cars, trucks, and SUVs, imports, and domestics. See us at Denny Menholt Rushmore Honda or RushmoreHonda.com. Length of finance contract is limited with qualified credit, expires 9/3/24.
Hi, this is David Brenneman with Coldwell Banker Black Hills Legacy in Rapid City. With today's home values, right now could be a great time to sell your home. The Black Hills housing market is competitive, and I would love to help you get top dollar for your home. I have been selling real estate and attracting buyers in Rapid City for nearly 20 years. When it comes to buying or selling, experience matters. You're thinking of selling your current home? Let me put my expertise to work for you. Just Google David Brenneman, Coldwell Banker. List it, sell it, and move on. With me, David Brenneman, Coldwell Banker.
Live from the Anytime Auto Sales Service and Details Studio. Sales, service, and recreation. This is Fox Sports Rapid City.
All right, welcome back in. Busy show tonight. Thanks for being here. We're in the Drive at 5. As always, appreciate you. The Nate Brown Show on South Dakota Sports Talk Show live, 106.7 FM, 1150 AM, and streaming all the time. FoxSportsRapidCity.com. Stream us there. You've got us. Brand new stream up on X, Twitter. If you haven't watched us, we're there live 4 to 6 on X at Nate Brown Show. So you've got us there. We'll have some reaction on Team USA later. Chris Denker coming up. International coach, former D1 coach here in the U.S., and now a pro basketball scout. Chris Denker on some Team USA hoops reaction as the guys got it done earlier today in Paris. Chris Denker, straight ahead, former D1 coach. Well, I thought this was great. I got connected with him. I said, well, we got to get him on the show. Let's see what we can chat about here. He spent a life working in sports. He's a Major League Baseball agent. He's been in broadcasting. He's a national speaker. His name's Mark Lineweaver. And he joins us here on the Nate Brown Show today, right after the trade deadline for the Major League Baseball. So, Mark, I first welcome you into the show for the first time and appreciate you coming on. How are you?
Nate, I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for hopping in. So I'm going to ask you, Major League Baseball agent, people are listening, you're going, wait a second, it was the trade deadline yesterday. So how fast and furious was this thing? I mean, kind of take us through this scene yesterday. That's so interesting.
I read an article today about Ken Rosenthal put something together about the number of trades shouldn't be overlooked by the quality of players, and there were a lot of deals. We had 2 or 3 of our own players from our agency that were traded. One, an Alex Cobb that went to the Guardians, who no one's talking about yet, has been in first place all season long. So, I think a lot of teams got better. I think Baltimore was the team that proved the most that they are here, they're ready. They got swept in the postseason with all those young bucks last year, but I think it's Baltimore in the American League right now, and the Dodgers got considerably better too. So I thought there were some really quality trades. There wasn't that enormous blockbuster that everybody kind of had that wow factor to, but I think a lot of teams got a lot better, and September should be fun, and October should be that much more fun.
I love it. Mark Lineweaver on, Major League Baseball agent here on the Nate Brown Show. So I want to ask you, you do national speaking, and we're going to get into what you're doing here in South Dakota. I want to get into that and make sure people are aware of it. But you talk about getting a job in sports and where that goes. Why did you go down this road, Mark? Meaning, you've been a Major League Baseball agent, and I think people are interested. How did you go down this road?
I think about 25 years ago when I first broke into the industry, and as you pointed out, I was in broadcasting long before I became an agent. You remember the individuals that were to those helping hands, that gave you a break or gave you some advice, and it was beyond the proverbial, you've got to hustle, you've got to network, like literally rolled up the sleeves and taught you a sequence of this is how you break in. And when I got to a point in my career about a decade, maybe 15 years ago, where I felt it was time for me to start paying forward, doing the same type of thing that my mentors did for me, I got a chance to get connected with the University of Southern California, people that worked in sports, a VP from the LA Kings, a VP from the Dodgers, who is now the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. They welcomed me in to say, would you like to do something for our students? That was my topic, and now here I am 15 years later, far beyond just USC, creating things virtually, doing presentations across the country to college students, even high school students, that there's no traditional educational roadmap to do what you do, Nate, to do what I've done in the last 25 years. And so if that's my little give back to students who are interested in our respective fields, then, I've got a half hour in my day to speak to any student that's interested in getting into the profession that we're in.
I want to give some background. Mark Lineweaver joins us, Major League Baseball agent. You came to South Dakota recently to speak to the activities directors. You were at the AD conference, and so you got into that, and from that, you may be able to be going around South Dakota. You're going to be coming to Rapid City, talking to our schools. So, number one, what's your discussion? What's your vision when you talk to, I'm sure it's different, Mark, ADs, coaches, high school student athletes?
Yeah, I'll say that the opportunity to speak at the state level back in March blew me away. I moved to Rapid City a little less than 2 years ago. I've gotten a chance to meet some great people. I now add you to that list. But it's the athletic administrators at the 3 high schools really in the region with, Nick at Stevens and Jordan over at Rapid City Central, and then Josh at Douglas, who I had a chance to interact with his coaches just yesterday. The opportunity to bring messaging in that I share to major league players, minor league players, and their families, that, so often we think that these celebrities, it doesn't matter if they're in sports, entertainment, music, they get advice from agents and managers and publicists about the do's and the don'ts. And about 5 years ago, especially when the pandemic hit, I realized that very similar to what we just discussed, where I have 25 years of experience, it's time to pay it forward. I felt it was important to share to student athletes and coaches the same type of thing that the pros hear. And nowadays with social media dangers and the consequences that come with certain behaviors, that if you make a mistake, we live in this cancel culture, or the bullying epidemic, and how the leadership off of the field for a student athlete and the coaches that oversee those student athletes that anti-bullying leadership is so much more important off the field than anything that could be taught X's and O's on the field. Volunteering in the community, giving back, helping others, being selfless versus selfish. Those are the types of things that I would be talking to my players with over the last decade and how they could use their platform to make a difference. And so I thought, especially when COVID hit and the pandemic and everything kind of shifted to this Zoom type of world, hey, the moment that was over, I wanted to get out into the community and share a similar message. And I've got to give a lot of credit to Nick, Jordan, and Josh that they opened up that door to say, hey, that's a message that we absolutely want our coaches, our student athletes, our student population in general, we want them to hear that. So it was the perfect fit, and I find that to be a way for me to be new to South Dakota, specifically to Rapid City. If they'll have me in, then I'm happy to share that type of messaging.
I want to touch on the social media landscape. So I talk a lot about it on this show, Mark, and this is just the sports side of this, where I say it can be great, great information, great promotion, great for your brand, and then it can be really, really bad. I have a high school daughter, student athlete, and not any social media right now. So I ask you, when you're out there and you're telling high school kids specifically, what is the right play when it comes to social media? If somebody's listening right now, you're going, well, how do you do that right?
Well, I think the first point that I always share with anybody is if you have to think, should or should I not post this, then you shouldn't be posting. Anytime that there's that level of question, then just avoid it altogether. I also am a big believer that everyone, here I am an agent and I represent players. I advise players. So everybody represents themselves. And I think that in this world where you've got to look out for number one first with things that you're tagged in or you're posted in or, friends nowadays with the videos always going and immediately then pushed onto social media channels, not everybody wants to be a part of that. So you've got to really make sure that you're looking out for yourself, aware of the company you keep, very, very aware of language being used or how people would react to that, if their feelings would be hurt. I think that if there's any question of should or shouldn't we be doing this, always avoid it, and then don't be afraid to step up and speak up if it's something that you're uncomfortable with, because when that ship goes down, you are going to the bottom with it.
Major League Baseball agent, national speaker, broadcaster as well in his career, Mark Lineweaver, on the show tonight here on Fox Sports Rapid City. He's coming to Rapid City. He's going to be talking to Rapid City Central. I know you got Douglas lined up as well. You also talked to Rapid City Stevens coaches recently. So how receptive have the coaches, the ADs here in South Dakota been to, hey, we need to be informed on this. We need to get this info to our players?
I've been really pleasantly surprised that they've been as receptive to it as they have. And I say that only because I'm an outsider, right? I'm a sports agent, and it could be looked upon as like, this guy's coming in and he's just trying to kind of give his point of view. But I think the one thing about those three schools, their administrators, their coaches, from the principals down, is that this is a team effort. We are all collectively trying to look out for the best interest of these young men and women. And too often, they are the only people to share that message. It is the coaches, it's the teachers, it's the parents saying the same type of thing about the do's and the don'ts to these young men and women. And so to be able to combine forces and have it maybe come from a different point of view, and I try to say this as humbly or modestly as I can, but having the chance to be around professional athletes, professional entertainers, musicians, their agents, their managers, their publicists, collectively, this is what we tell our clients. And if those are the people that those kids, and at the end of the day, that's what they are, those kids look up to those celebrities, then you'd hope that they would respond very similarly to that messaging. And the way that those three school districts have really embraced kind of teaming up to make sure that it could be heard by their collective masses, I've been really, really proud of them and appreciate how welcoming they've been to the messaging and the willingness to want to do something together.
I think it's a great thing. Mark Lineweaver on tonight here on the Nate Brown Show, Major League Baseball agent, also a frequent speaker at high schools on character matters and guidance. So I want to ask you a couple of questions, Mark, about your job, okay? About your like full-time job. Major League Baseball agent, people are like, man, that's got to be that's a tough business. You tell me, how tough is it? What's the toughest thing about your job?
I laugh sometimes and say I get calls, when I give those lectures about working in sports from a number of young, ambitious students that are about to graduate, and they say, I want to do what you do. I want to be an agent. And I find myself probably trying to talk them out of it more than talk them into it, because it's if you've ever seen Jerry Maguire, and that movie's now 25 years old, and a lot of people have watched shows like Ballers, there's enough out there, but I go back to the Jerry Maguire example all the time and say, there really are no Jerry Maguires, and that the bad guy in the movie, Bob Sugar, was actually a pretty good agent. I mean, that's what the job is. So, listen, it's fun, and it's an opportunity to do things that, frankly, a lot of other people probably would pay a lot of money to do, to go to certain games or events and have the chance to be around, the players and the families and the excitement. But it's that 24/7, 365, constantly at the mercy of your phone and constantly at the mercy of your client, that it does require a unique individual and some really, really understanding people in your camp, personally and professionally, to know that this is the job. And you work off of a commission. You get a piece of that contract. And don't get me wrong; those are incredibly lucrative contracts. But it's also a at-will terminable contract that you could fire your agent at any point. And 5 or 10% of zero is zero, and you don't have to be a mathematician to figure that out. So, if you're not the one at the very end with your name at the bottom of that contract that that player signs, they could leave at any point. And it's a unique line of work, but one that I've been happy to be a part of and excited to be a part of for years. And that's why I say, if there's somebody out there that is listening and wants to go down that path, I'm always happy to be a resource to them and help them understand what being an agent is.
Okay, so when you watch Major League Baseball, Mark, can you watch as a fan, or are you constantly like, oh man, how's this guy doing? How's my guy doing? How's this going?
It's a little bit of both. I think in the postseason I truly become a fan. But during the year, you are just constantly paying attention to what that player's doing, right? The hardest part, in my opinion, of a job of representing a player is you've got to be there when it's not going well. When the guy's striking everybody out or hitting home runs, it's easy to say, keep it up. But it's when they're really going through that tough time, when they can't buy a hit or they can't get it out, that you have to be that person to really dab them up and keep that confidence high. So, I think that during the season, I am more so an agent and really see it from the perspective of how can I be a resource and help my player, good, bad, or indifferent. But anytime the postseason rolls around, I think the fandom of growing up as a baseball fan comes out the most. And I think I could speak for a lot of agents or people in the baseball world in general. Doesn't matter if you're on the business side or on the club side. I think that's when you really, truly become a fan again. And that's why that trade deadline that we opened with is so exciting, because every team who at least has close to a 500 record nowadays with the expanded postseason feels we got a shot. And what person out there that likes baseball doesn't like to think that their team doesn't have a shot to win the World Series?
I'll tell you, we got him the day after the Major League Baseball trade deadline. He hasn't done enough talking. So we got him on the Nate Brown Show tonight. Mark Lineweaver is his name, Major League Baseball agent, speaker. He comes to South Dakota and offers some great guidance and character matter talks, and he's doing it here in Rapid City for Central, Douglas. He was with the Stevens coaches. Mark, is the best way, somebody's listening across the state, hey, I'd like to see what we could do at our school with our athletes potentially and set them up to learn about what you teach. Is the best way to go marklineweaver.com? Is that how we want to do it?
Yeah, or you can go to, I think what's a lot simpler, because my last name is so hard to pronounce and probably even harder to spell, is whycharactermatters.com. I mean, that is the crux of my messaging, whycharactermatters.com. And I spent a lot of time focused on the Rapid City schools, but there are some schools in your footprint, your listening footprint, and I've got to give Adam from Belle Fourche a lot of credit. Right after the statewide conference in March, he was the first athletic administrator to reach out to say, I need to have you at my school to speak to our students. So, I'm sure he's listening, or at least has the chance and opportunity to listen, because they're not that far. I had to practice a long time to get that pronunciation right, and hopefully I won't blow it when I'm in front of those kids. But, yeah, I would say whycharactermatters.com is the best way to get in touch.
Okay, I can help you. Adam Nowajewski. I got you.
That's
Adam
right,
Nowajewski.
that's our guy.
Mark Lineweaver tonight, Major League Baseball agent, speaker. Great to have you, Mark. I think you're doing great work. We know that. Look forward to having you in Rapid City again, talking to a lot of student athletes. And appreciate you hopping on. We'll talk again.
You've got a great show, Nate. I appreciate everything you do as well.
Thanks for the time. Mark Lineweaver tonight, Major League Baseball agent, national speaker. Character Matters, whycharactermatters.com. If you want to get an interesting perspective, it's important right now. I mean, it's important with today's world. You know that. Talking about guidance on social media dangers, anti-bullying, character, volunteering. I think it matters, and he's talking to some of our local kids here in Rapid City. I think it's going to be outstanding. Whycharactermatters.com with Mark Lineweaver on tonight. Good stuff. We take a time out on the Nate Brown Show, come back with pro basketball scout Chris Denker live from California. Reaction on Team USA and the Olympics.
Show. Nearly 100 new GMCs in stock and on the way at Spearfish GMC. Sierra 1500, Denali, AT4, SLT, and Elevation Edition all in stock. 2500 and 3500 HDs starting at around $55,000. Acadias and Terrain starting at $38,300. 5 Hummer EVs in stock and on the way, including the exclusive Omega Limited Edition. We've got trucks. Spearfish GMC Cadillac, online at spearfishmotors.com.
Hey, it's Nate Brown for Precision Mechanical, your local heating and air conditioning company, serving Rapid City, Spearfish, and the surrounding area since 2006. Precision Mechanical is here to help you stay cool this summer. If your air conditioning goes out, they have a technician on call 24/7. Also, if you need a new system, Precision is your local Lennox Premier dealer. For all of your servicing needs, maintenance, or a new system, it's Precision Mechanical. So beat the heat this summer. Just Google Precision Mechanical.
Nearly 150 years ago, Americans didn't race across the plains to settle. They pioneered. They toiled and ground the land into the world we know today, creating opportunities, not just for themselves, but for future generations. Don't settle. Pioneer. Pioneer Bank and Trust. Local.
Member FDIC. Looking for a great place for a pregame meal that really satisfies? Or maybe you want a place to take your all-star after the game. Or you're looking for a place to enjoy a delicious meal while watching your favorite team on the big screen TV. Valley Sports Bar and Grill has all the bases covered for all those things and more. Top-notch, friendly, and attentive service. Wall-to-wall big screen TVs with all the big games. And the absolute best wings in Rapid City. Valley Sports Bar. Make it your place. 1865 Valley Drive, Rapid City.
Great news. I just got the State Farm personal price plan on our home and auto insurance.
You told our agent about my thing for romance novels?
No, you don't have to get that personal. Our agent just helped me choose affordable options to create a personalized price just for us.
Oh, sweet. Then you won't believe the love triangle Jen is in now.
Contact me, State Farm agent Scott Carlson, to create your personal price plan today.
Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Hey, this is Rob Parker from The Odd Couple. Don't miss our show weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. right here on Fox Sports Rapid City. And now we'll send you back to Rapid City Sports Talk Show, The Nate Brown Show.
All right, we are back. The Nate Brown Show on Fox Sports Rapid City, driven by Spearfish Motors. Spearfish Motors, your home for the new 2024 GMCs and Cadillacs. Great incentives right now on the financing. So take a look, spearfishmotors.com. Inventory's there. Stop by 1910 North Main in Spearfish. When it comes to GMCs and Cadillacs, that's your dealership, locally owned. Spearfish GMC Cadillac. We are professional grade. Start online, spearfishmotors.com. Team USA, I watched it this afternoon. Yes, I know. I had to work too, like you, right? I got a buddy of mine. It's like, hey, do you only work 4 to 6? He still asks me that. He said, I've been doing the show forever. He still asks me that. I work more than 4 to 6, but I did watch Team USA, okay, on my phone as I prepped the show today. Team USA beats South Sudan 103-86. Chris Dinker's on tonight. Great experience on the international basketball side. Former D1 coach here. Chris, good to have you on. How are you?
Good, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate your time as always. So, let's get into this here. Coaching dynamic. I want your read. You've coached, and I look at Steve Kerr. He doesn't play Jason Tatum the first game, and they beat Serbia. That was kind of the storyline. Like, well, why didn't Tatum play? Then he starts him today. So, how does Steve Kerr find that balance? I thought it was odd. Not a minute of playing time, and then he starts him today.
Yeah, it's tricky, and I don't know if you can read into what he said. At first he said, well, it was just the coach's decision, and then he said, I forgot about him. It was stupid. I look like an idiot. And then, like you say, he starts him today, and now Embiid doesn't play at all. So I think what he's trying to do is, I've got 12 all-stars, literally all-stars, or all-NBA, or, future Hall of Famers, et cetera. And I think it's difficult to get everybody quality minutes. And, again, this goes back to why they picked a guy like Derek White when they needed a replacement. And he's a true role player, or somebody who really relishes that. And he's done well with this team. But point being is, today was Embiid's day to get some rest. Drew Holiday didn't play much today and was not in the starting lineup, took some time out of the lineup. He says that in the next game he's going back to them against Puerto Rico, so there's going to be another change. Davis and probably Tatum will be back out of the starting lineup, maybe with that second group. Long story short is he's got a lot of players. He can play a lot of different combinations, and I do think he's still trying to figure out what works best. How do we maybe thrive when we really need to, and we get into that medal round.
I'm going to ask you, Chris Dinker, former D1 coach, international basketball scout, and coach here in the States. I want to ask you, wouldn't you just be able to play everybody? I mean, you don't need to play Embiid the same minutes, or Tatum, or whoever's kind of on the tail end, like Halliburton. You don't need to play, but couldn't you find a rotation that, it's like, man, this rotation's great. Now this rotation's great. All these guys are really, really good. Although there is a little bit of a difference between the top-tier guys and the bottom guys. But couldn't you find a rotation if you're coaching?
Yeah, I think you could, and I kind of think he should have by now. I think you can look at what I just said a moment ago about as it being a little bit of an excuse, because he does have so many players. But at the same time, you've got to be developing this team for when you face the really strong opponents in the medal rounds, win or go home sort of thing. You're going to want to have a rotation. Today, if you look at it, every player, you mentioned Halliburton being on the low end, he had 8 minutes, but I think everybody was between 17 and 21 minutes or something to that effect. So basically what they're doing is just saying, next 5, go, and just even playing time at this point. But I think, and I said this a while back, Embiid has struggled with the difference in the game.
Yeah.
Again, he gets a lot of ISO and the defensive rules that you see in the NBA, and then the way it's officiated and whatnot. That's to take nothing away from him. He's a phenomenal player, an MVP type player. But this is a different game, and you showed again today. Adebayo playing the center spot is really, really good. Davis has been very good there throughout this run in the Olympics and leading up to it. And then when you can play guys like Kevin Durant at the 4, because you've got good guard size and guys who can rebound, and he can kind of stretch the floor at that position, or You would hope to get the same thing out of Tatum, although he hasn't been great. But I think when you could do that now, to me, that's where you're finding your rotation is those two small ball centers. Who do I want at my forward spots? Curry's a guy who hasn't been shooting very good, really. Today was another example of that. But you come off the bench with four guys in double figures. I mean, that goes back to the depth. But to your point, I would like to see a rotation, a little more consistency, and perhaps then guys would settle in and know what to expect.
Chris, I feel like Steph Curry's game kind of struggles in this style as well. I feel like he's not what you think he is.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me how, you're going to get a lot of transition, and I think they hope to get stops and rebounds and turn it into an open court game where their athletes and size and skill across the board will really flourish. But in that kind of system, unless he's just going to get an open look, and he's unselfish, he's going to give it up to guys. He had 4 or 5 assists again a day. But, a lot of times with the Warriors, they're looking for him. And Draymond kind of serves as their point guard, and he'll get a rebound and break out, and then he's looking for Curry. Guys are flare screening for him or whatever right off the bat. And here it's been a little different. Every one of these guys is the first option with their team. And so, they're not running a lot. And that's another thing that I've been kind of curious about with Coach Kerr is, they're not running a lot of stuff, a lot of sets or anything. And I think there's going to come a time when they're going to get into, again, these medal rounds where it's going to become a little more of a half-court game where there's going to be some critical down-the-stretch possessions where you got to get a shot, and maybe you're going to try to bring Curry off a double, or you're going to do something, to maybe give him a look. And I don't see him doing it a whole lot. So I think he struggles to find shots. And even some of the ones he's made have been way, way out. The typical Curry 30-footer type stuff. Where are the easy ones?
Yeah. No, I've just noticed that kind of the hand checking, and they're kind of focusing on the defense is, so maybe that's just part of the deal. But I thought Steph Curry first couple of games a little underwhelming on that side. Chris Danker on tonight talking Team USA. They win by 17 over South Sudan. Puerto Rico up next. Are you surprised at all how LeBron James, especially that first game against Serbia, he was the man. He was the guy, almost a triple-double. I thought he was the best player, by far. I know KD really shot it well, but LeBron across the board, 39 years old, he's going to be 40, and he's still that guy.
Yeah, and he's playing with tons of energy, playing hard at the defensive end. It's fun to see. And when he does that, it really opens things up for other guys as well. I think Devin Booker's another one who's been really good, and I think he's done a lot of things for them that maybe you don't typically see. But he's done a good job for them, and obviously Edwards is a star in the making. Durant's been really big since he's come back. But as you mentioned, if you just look, I think probably the next closest guy would be maybe Adebayo, meaning that does as many other things. So rebounding as well as scoring some, maybe assisting today or getting some steals and blocks because of his defensive abilities.
Yeah.
James has been fantastic and been that guy, but I think Adebayo is probably the next in regards to that all-around balance.
Okay, last one for Chris Danker, former D1 coach, now pro basketball scout, netscoutsbasketball.com. Do you think these guys are – I feel like they get this done. You sound like it's going to get a little tougher. Serbia, though, that's a good team, and they pulled away from them. I feel like these guys are untouchable when they're playing at a high level.
Yeah, no, and I do too, and I think they learned something from when they played South Sudan the first time in that exhibition, but then came back today. Boy, they really got on them early, and when they do that, when they defend and rebound, they did get out-rebounded today at the end of it all, but when they defend and rebound, and again, can get out in transition, they seem to have limited turnovers, although 15 today is a little too many. LeBron had 6, but early on they were turning it over a ton and not shooting great, and so it didn't look so good. But now they're holding teams like South Sudan. They held them to 86. I think last time it was 100. So when they do those sorts of things and really lock in, I don't think there's anybody that can beat them. I watched some of the Australia-Canada game yesterday, I think it was, and 9 of the 10, and sometimes all 10 guys were NBA guys.
Yeah.
And so those are really good teams as well. And like you say, the Serbias of the world. I mean, there's Germany, who won the Euros last time. So there's some really good teams coming. We're going to see some outstanding games here as this thing rolls along, and these teams start to face each other again in the medal rounds. It's going to get good. But I think as long as the U.S. keeps kind of improving and getting more comfortable with each other and their roles. And one of the things Kurt talked about today, too, with regard to Embiid, for example, and not playing, is just that the buy-in with these guys has been great. And hopefully it is, and it stays that way, because if they all just buy into their role of, hey, tonight I'm a 17-minute guy, but I got to give it everything I've got, I don't know how they can be beat.
Chris Denker on tonight, pro basketball scout, former D1 coach, netscoutsbasketball.com, talking Team USA. I've really enjoyed it, man. The first 2 games have been just so much fun to watch these guys ball. Chris, good to have you. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks, Nate.
Appreciate your time. Chris Denker, it's been fun. For a basketball fan, if you're not watching Team USA, man, I mean, it's great. And the games are pretty good. Team USA women's great. I watched their game as well. Their opponents aren't good. I mean, the Team USA women just going to run away from everybody. I mean, it's not even close. Team USA men, competitive, good. The basketball's off the charts. So I implore you to watch Team USA men. Next up, Puerto Rico. So they got it done earlier today, and that's it. We've got it done on the Wednesday show, the Nate Brown Show in the books. That's it. We're back tomorrow at 4, and earlier in the day, noon start, post-22 baseball against Harrisburg. Hard Hats having to go all the way through the elimination bracket. Trying to come back to the state title game, they got to go all the way through. Next up, number 1 seed Harrisburg, who lost tonight. Harrisburg, post-22 tomorrow at noon. The Nate Brown Show back on at 4, and the Nate Brown Show podcast going up right now. Here's the Odd Couple.
Lead at Cincinnati in the 3rd right now. I'm Isaac Lowenkron.
Do you know who this is?